Hey guys, welcome back once again to my channel. So in this particular tutorial, I will show you like how we can automate and arrange different information to GitHub repository using a Telegram bot. So let's for as a use case, I'll take any of the SAP community blog post, and if I just copy the URL, paste it over here and click on send, it will create a file in my GitHub repository. And all the required information will be saved there in a structural fashion. So let's go get into the repository, which is an empty one. There is nothing there, and I just had one file which I deleted intentionally so that I can start everything from scratch. And here is I have just pasted the URL of the blog post, and if I click on send button, let's see what happens. It says the file creation is successful. Just refresh this one, view code. You will see this is a file got created. It's a markdown file, and if I get into that, you see the same blog post in a structural fashion created in the GitHub repository. Obviously, if I click on that particular hyperlink, it will take me to the same blog post. So this is what we are going to create in this tutorial. I hope you will enjoy this discussion overall. And if you are coming to my channel for the first time and haven't yet subscribed my channel, request would be to hit the subscribe button and set the bell icon so that you can get intimated the moment I upload a new content to my channel. And of course, if you like this discussion, don't forget to hit the like button as well. So now let's get into the coding part. So with this process flow, user will start entering the URL to the Telegram bot, which will get into the SAP CI section, and it will use its gold entity to detect that URL. Nothing much we need to do here, and only thing is we have to ensure that it does connect with the Node.js application, and there it will have a Python as a child process which will do the crawling of the URL to get the important details. And finally, the information once I received in a structural fashion will update the GitHub markdown file. And in this journey, we'll use the Docker Hub to deploy this Node.js and Python combination application into the SAP BTP. So let's start with an empty project, and you need to open the terminal, and then I'll npm init. So it will initialize the package.json, and now I will just create one more file, index.js. And I'll be using Express over here. So let's install the Express. Npm install Express. Express is installed. So just I'm getting the application instance, get the JSON also. Now add the port information and a little bit of boilerplate codes. So I'm just telling it's a process.environment port, or 3000 will be the port that I'll be using, and I'm just adding up a little bit of boilerplate code. This is for ensuring that whatever the URL that user will enter, I'll get it from the request body. Let's now create the root. So this root means this blog post is the endpoint. So from CAI, conversational AI, when I'll make a post call to this particular server, this root will be triggered. And let's get into the process, the Python process that will require over here. Now when the process will over, you will just we will just get into that standard output on event handler, and what we'll do, we'll simply add up this particular piece of code and here we'll just send the response, because once the Python is done with its crawling and all the information, it will return under this data section. And now this particular information what I have received, I have to now dump it to the GitHub repository. Let's create one clear string function, and its job is like, if I get any characters which is not known in UTF-8 fashion, then it will discard that particular unknown character. Okay, and I'll use this particular function in our process standard output on event handler, like this. Now we'll create a main function yet to be created, it's not yet done, where we'll basically pass this UTF-8 fashioned without any garbage kind of a character, a clean character rather, clean string. So this one I'll just pass it to the main function, and this main is yet to be built. It will return a promise, so that's why this await function is required, and it will just return a status and which is kind of a message like whether that git hub update was successful or not, or any exception happened or something. So that probably the information that I'll collect it in the status constant, and that I'll respond back to the SAP chatbot. And SAP chatbot needs a specific response fashion or format, where I'll just pass that particular status in a string format, ensure it's in string fashion, and type is a text, and it will return back the information to the SAP chatbot. So now let's create the main function. So let's write constant. We'll just pass some data. I'm using an arrow function, and here we'll first get the file name. Means like the file, as I have shown, it's dynamically generating. So let's get the file name based on the current month and year, and with that file name, then we'll get into we'll pass that information to the GitHub account. So let's create a new method called get file name. It is not yet done, and what it will do basically, it will just add up the different date and current year fashion formats, and it will just return the current file name. I mean, whatever the file name that dynamically I want to generate, and I'll receive now in this file name variable. So let's put it as a constant. Okay, here one more thing we have to deal with, and that is this get month. So we'll just hard code all the months, 3 characters in an array kind of, and we'll use that get month function to get the month that I'm looking at using the index, like this. So I just added from January to December with all 3 characters. So now we have received the file name, and we are using this defined months, and using the index of the current month, I'll just get that month name followed by the .md, which is a markdown file that we're going to create, and we'll receive finally the file name that we need to create in our GitHub repository. So the next step would be to check if this file does exist or not. So I'll just create a function called, or module rather, like is file exist, and that is yet to be created, and using that I'll just get the shark value along with the file exist flag, true false kind of a boolean. Now before I handle the GitHub APIs, I need one important thing, and that is the GitHub access token. Now for that, what I'll do, I'll create a file called .env, and inside that I will add my GitHub access token. And what you need to do for that, you can create your access token by this way. You go to the main repository, and from there you have to click on this settings. There you will find something called, you need to click on not this developer settings, and there will be something called personal access token, and you have to just click on generate a new token. Okay, and you have to just save that token value somewhere, which you need to use in that environment file. So in my case, I'll just put like this, and the token value whatever I have set in your in my GitHub repository. Now to access this environment, we basically need .environment library, which I need to install now as a node module. So let's copy it and put npm install .environment. Okay, and the meantime it installs, what I'll need to do next is OctoKit I'll be using to handle the GitHub repository file generation. So let's install OctoKit as well. So let's copy this OctoKit REST and install. Short form of install is I, and from this namespace of OctoKit just install the REST. So OctoKit is now installed. So what I'll do, create an OctoKit instance passing the GitHub access token which we have saved under this .environment. So this will be only possible to be accessed if we just add this part, otherwise it will not work. Okay, so that's the reason we have installed .environment followed by this OctoKit REST. Now let's create a folder called module, and under that you create a new file called iffileexist.js. So this is the middleware which will be validating whether the file name does already exist in my GitHub repository. If it is there, then no need to create that file, otherwise it has to create a new file. So let's write something like file exist is equal to async function. It will take two things, one is OctoKit and another is the file name. And that means OctoKit instance we need to pass from the index.js. So let's do that now. So here is our is file exist. So that we need the OctoKit over here, and the file name which we just received. These two things will pass it from here. So that's okay. So very simple now. Let's make little more space. So obviously this module which you're creating, we need to add it to our index.js. We'll do it soon. So let's a little bit of coding we need to put to validate the file does exist or not. Let's put every entire code piece under try catch block, and in this try section what we'll do, inside that we'll just paste this piece of code where we'll just say like get the file content, whatever the file name we have received from this index.js, that will pass it under the path parameter, and we'll just give a repository name. We'll create that repository specific for this demo project, and this OctoKit get content will return a promise, and so that await function is required. I think we have to mention something in index.js as well, async, otherwise it will not work, because it is await means we need to put an async function. Okay, so let's quickly create a repository and put it over here. Yeah, so let's create a new repository, and I'm just adding Blogi bot demo. Okay, and it's a public, I don't need any read or anything, I just create repository, simple. So now this repository got created and its name is Blogi bot demo. So let's put that one over here. This is my user ID. You have to put your user ID, of course, otherwise it will not work. Quite logical. Let's now see, once I get that file content, I will just grab two things. One is like if it is successfully fetched, that means the file does exist. and we'll just collect the SHA value, because the SHA value will need it to update the same file again. So let's put this code. So we'll just get the SHA value under file content. File content we have received over here. So file content data SHA will contain the SHA value, and we are setting the boolean flag true, like yeah, file does exist, and I'm returning out of this module. If there is an error, we have to do something, but in that case we have to talk about like it false, of course, because there is a file doesn't exist. And the SHA value, let's put it simple like this. Okay, empty means no SHA value found. That's okay, and return from this model. Okay, the most important thing, we have to do a module export of that particular E1. So is file exist is basically this one should be is file exist. Okay, so otherwise it will not work, it was a typo. Okay, so next is this module we need to get into our index.js. so let's add this out, this module. Let's record this module inside that index.js, and that means here this particular piece of code should be fine, and I'll collect file exists boolean either true or false, and the SHA is equal to actual the value of the SHA if it is there, otherwise empty SHA value. So what next will be, like based on this file exists or not, we have to either create or update the file. So let's start with a simple if file exists, if else condition, and inside that exist means we have to just update the file content now. So that means we need a new module or middleware which will be dealing with only updating the particular repository file content. So let's paste this code, and this is like a new method we need, which is called get file content. That's a new method, doesn't exist. And the similar way I'll pass this octokit instance which we generated over here, as you can remember, I guess this one, passing the GitHub access token, and obviously the same file name which we just collected from this get file name function. So now let's create this middleware under the model section. New file, get file content .js. Now let's add the get file content code piece over here, and async function I'll just create. Obviously we have passed octokit as well as the file name. Okay, and now get file content means obviously we need to update the existing file, so we are just collecting whatever the content is there in the repository, and we'll append the new information with the existing contents. So that is the reason this middleware is we are developing now. Let's start with a try catch block. And now we have to do like we have to just get the content in a raw format. Okay, because in the first case this is little bit of things which I'm not also much of comfortable. That is like, well, I'm doing a get file exist, we are able to get the SHA value if we just pass the path name and not a format like the raw format. If you give a raw format, then it will not return the SHA value. Okay, so that is the reason we are just doing the same thing again, just to get the content this time specifically, and not the SHA value, because SHA value I have already collected in the previous middleware. Okay, so let's add the code piece now. So here I'm just telling the media type is the raw format, so I'll get the actual content of the file in this particular constant, and that one I'll just return it. and the repository name what we created is Bloggybot demo. So let's copy it and just replace with Bloggybot demo. That's it. Okay, let's save this one. Let's handle the error part in case we find some issues over here. Something else, status console log I'm just doing. And the next is obviously model.exports, and we have to just return this model. Okay, that's all. So now we have to just bring this module inside the index.js. Let's do that now. So I'm just pasting it, so this way I'll get the file content. Now slowly we are very close to our Node.js application completion. So we got the file content now. So what next we have to do, we are just grabbing the data from this particular file content, or kind of a destructuring I'm doing, and then we'll just update the file content. Means the file does already exist. In this case it's if block true, so let's update the file content now. So we need to create a new model to update the content. So we have to check one thing, like whatever the new data we are entering, this data is not supposed to be there in the file itself. So we are just trying like data dot includes new data, right? Then only we'll just make sense to update the file now. And this time we need to pass little more parameters like octokit as usual, file name also. Now we have the data that we are actually collected from this get file content. This one will pass along with the new data that we have received from the URL as passed by the user, and obviously the SHA value which we collected over here in this is file exist model. Let's save this, and we have to now create this model called update file content. Let's do that now. Create a file called update this content.js, and here let's do something like async function, and we have to add a lot of things now. One is octokit, one is file name. Next what we send from index.js is the data, so let's copy all and put it inside that. Okay, and now we have to write the code piece to update the file content. So let's do the try and catch block with error handling, and new data should be now just a concatenation of the old data and the new data. Okay, like that. Let's encode the content with the base64. So that means we need we need base64 as a require statement you put. Okay, fantastic. So what we have to do now, we got the new data, and let's now update the content. So we need to basically use a big function of this octokit repository, that is create or update file contents. So if we are passing SHA, then it will basically update the file content, otherwise it will try to create the file content. So this is our repository which we just which you are using. I just added a message like when the file gets created there will be logging like who created this file, so later on we can understand it's been created by the Telegram bot. Content encoded, we just did a base64 over here that we are passing, followed by certain committer. These are the things that I'm passing my user ID and pass some bot name. You can put octokit bot or maybe Telegram bot, whatever, doesn't matter. And that's all for the author. Okay, you have to use your own email ID for that. Okay, simple. So now set the status now, I'll return it from this module, like the file update is successful, and I'm just returning from this one. Let's handle the error part now. And this time I'll just telling the file update failed, and corresponding message I'm just returning. Finally, we have to just module dot exports, and we'll just pass this particular function name. Okay, that's all. So our file update content is done. So we are just adding the old content, concatenating with the new content. We are converting it to base64, calling this particular create update file contents method. If we pass SHA value, then it will update it, otherwise it will create. And relevant information you just need to pass it on, and then I'm just setting up the status value as file update successful, otherwise setting up a file update as failed and returning from this module. That's it. Let's go to index.js now. So this file content, file update status, I'm just grabbing from here, and which we have set inside this file update file content module, right? Cool. Now let's return the final file update status, which we received it from here and from this main function. Okay, so that means the data is if the new data what I have I want to update, if that data is not there inside that file, then only there is a point to update it. And if it's already existing inside the file, then we should escape from this if block, and in the else part will handle like it is not required to be updated, or maybe the file content does already exist, something of message we need to set it up like this. Okay, file update status, blog post already updated. That's it. Cool. So now this particular piece is complete. A lot of coding we're doing in this little use case. That's good to know. I think I've done a mistake. This part should not be over here, it should be in this else block, because this else block is the other part of the if, which is if the file does exist or not. So incorrectly I placed earlier, I have corrected it now. So let's handle the else part of the main if block, which is if the file does not exist, then you have to create it. Okay, for that we'll just use this piece of code. Create new file module, we'll be using same octokit file name and new data. We don't need a SHA this time. So let's create this module quickly. And let's grab all the parameters from here maybe. Cool. Okay, let's put this way. Now much clear. So what now we have to do, let's add the code related for our file creation. So let's start with a try and catch block, and here we need to add in the markdown file to create a table format. You can check in Google also, I believe. What we have to do, maybe I can tell you from here. In this Bloggybot app, if we go to the markdown file, as you can see, we need these headers and kind of a table format, and we'll be adding up this important blog post, and this will be dynamically created with the current month and year. So if you click on edit, you'll see how these things actually need to generate. We need to add this thing first, followed by this fashion, which will adding the title, and then below this section, which will segregate the columns, and all fields will be added with this particular pipe characters as a separator. Now to add a particular text with hyperlink with a URL, we need to put into an square bracket the title, followed by in the parenthesis we have to put the URL of that particular blog post. And these are of course generated by the program, not hard coded, as you know. We'll see how to grab those information. Well, we'll be handling the web scraping part. Okay, so till then let's create this first, these two pieces or the three pieces to start with. Okay, let's add the blog header part first. Okay, so it will have the title, likes, counts, and all different columns. Let's add now the line 2 part, which is all the separators with pipe separator. Let's save this on. Now let's get the current month once again, and we have to use that in our important blog post, that particular header, as you have just seen. So date instance indexing the current month and the get full year. So obviously this get month means we need to just have this function created. So let's quickly add the month, all the hard-coded arrays inside this module as well. Okay, great. So all the models we have added and months we have added, sorry, and this months with the current index, I'm just getting the month and the current year. So what next? We need to now create the content, and this is like that. So let the content becomes this important blog post, starting with this hash and followed by the current month, year, and then this table header and the separators, and followed by this new data, whatever the data that I will grab it from the Python code, okay, which will grab or scrap all the uBlog content, and it will collect all the information and it will structure those things inside the Python child process, and it will return it. No need to worry about, I'll explain everything so that it will be very clear how this new data is actually being formed. Let's move forward. The same function will again use over here, that is the create or update file content. As we are not sending any SHA value, so it will create this time. We have added the same repository, file name already received in this module from the index.js file, as well the new data. So let's, rest of the things already I explained earlier during the update content middleware when we developed. Same concepts applies. And now set back the status like that. Let's do an error handling. It should be failed, and I'll just return it from this module. So module dot sports, and we'll copy this one, add it over here. Now one thing to be added, and that is, I guess we are using base64, so similar like our update content, we need this one as well. Okay, I think I need to install this one. Let's install that, or I'm not sure, probably it will work fine. Yeah, it is. Let's install this one, otherwise it will create trouble. Cool, it's done. Great. So now our create new file content is also ready. Let's grab it inside the index.file now, where we are grabbing all these things like that. Okay, so you have just added this one. what next? Let's move forward little with the file creation approach. And once we have done that file creation, right, what we have to do, we have to similarly update the status like this. And the file create status we have already passed from this module, which we are grabbing it over here, destructuring, and finally we are just setting that file creation status, which will be seeing in our Telegram bot once the content is there updated in the repository. Cool, almost done. So now the main process is complete. Only thing is this particular scrapper is crawler rather is pending. This Python application we have to now develop. Okay, and I think all we have set well. Async function is there, wired there. I think everything fine. One more thing we have to do, and that is we are handling standard out. Similarly, we have to do an error handling in case we are giving a wrong URL and my Python application is not able to crawl, or maybe the content is incorrect and it is failing for some reason. Then we have to handle that error as well. So let's complete that code over here first before we get into the Python application development. Same coding I've just pasted. Only thing is this time I'm adding standard error, and I'm just giving the same data, which I'm just formatting like error occurred and please recheck SAP blog post URL. Just an error handling part. Okay, and we'll test it all things in Postman, in SAP chatbot, as well Telegram bot. All three places we'll test. Even we'll test it from Docker container, okay, to see everything's are working fine. So many different places will test this application and get a good confidence like how things are actually working end to end. So now let's start with the our node part is complete. Let's create the file. The file name should be url crawler.py, right? So let's copy this one, create this file called url crawler.py. That's it. Now to start with the Python application, the best practice would be to create a virtual environment. So for that I'll just do Python -m venv, and the folder name is also venv. So it will create a virtual environment folder now over here. It will take little time, and let's have all the files installed. Yeah, all installed over here, and you can see something called activate.bat. So this batch file we need to run. So get into that folder first, scripts, and just run activate.batch, and you see now the virtual environment is set. It's clear. Why do you want to do that? Like whatever the dependent libraries that I'll need for this web scraping Python code development, those installations I don't want to be installed globally. Rather, I want those things to be installed within this virtual environment. So let's see what actually there inside now this virtual environment, and it says nothing. So nothing is installed actually. It's completely free. No libraries now installed within this virtual environment. So let's grab the libraries that we need now. So we'll need this following libraries: Beautiful Soup, then requests, LXML, as we'll be using XPath selectors. We need request to make a request to the URL blog post URL to get all the content, and we'll need regular expressions as well system files. I will handle with the system libraries. So now we have to just install it, obviously. So let's get out of that. Okay, and now to deactivate, if you just run something called deactivate, what will happen? This will come out of the virtual environment. Okay, so let's say I'm not doing it. So now we are on the root directory. Let's install pip install, and let's say ps4. Okay, So it will install now Beautiful Soup to this virtual environment. Now to check whether it's installed or not, you can again run pip freeze, and you see Beautiful Soup and dependent some things now installed within that. Similar way now we'll install rest of the libraries. LXML, I think I have added 2 times, I don't need it. And regular expression, let's install all. Some issue I believe, let's check. It's not installed. Let's install one by one. Pip install requests. Okay, and then we'll be installing the LXML. Let's install regular expression. Don't know, I think it's the latest something I have to do. Invalid requirement. No, it doesn't work. Let me quickly check. Let's run one more time. Okay, fine, no matching distribution found. That's okay. Let's we'll see if something we get stuck with the regular expression. We'll find it out later. Okay, for the time being, let's move on. So let's clear this out, and now I can run one more time pip freeze and see what are the things installed. We have LXML, Beautiful Soup, right? All the requests, everything installed. Okay, cool. So let's now head over to the actual Python application buildup. Let's define a function called main, and where I'll just get the system argument variable, or the first parameter will be the URL which we have passed while we just executed the child process from index.js. Let's get into that. You see this process, we are just calling this Python application and we are passing this argument which is the URL. So this one will grab it over here and put it into the URL variable, and we'll define another function which is not yet defined. We'll define it soon, called scrape, and there I'll pass that URL. So let's call that main function first. Be careful with the indent, and because it's not careful, it will not work if you'll not properly put the things on proper indentation. That is the one challenge for the Python application development. But anyway, Python is really cool, really powerful and interesting. So let's head over to create the another function called scrape. It will also take URL, and let's write the code for the scrape now. We'll start with a request to the URL first using the request.get function, passing the same URL, and this is the header. This is quite important. Okay, how will you get it? Maybe you can just write something called my user agent, and you'll see this thing. Copy it and paste it. Why do you need it? This one just to make the server, the SAP community blog post server saying like, hey, this is a machine. This is not a machine actually trying to get the access or the content. Rather, this is some user, a real user is actually trying to crawl it or trying to see the data. So by doing that, the server will not block the request. Otherwise, it may block you. So that's the reason you always put a header as a safer side, put the user as an agent, and put the value as just now I have shown from the browser. You can get it. There are certain misunderstanding, I think, with this one. So I just was reading that one, particular blog, and it talks about like when this web crawling is illegal or not. Okay, so by default it's telling like web scraping is illegal. No, it is nothing like that. They are saying web scraping itself is not illegal, but it depends how we are using the data. So if it is a publicly available website, right, and something not to log in with a user ID and credential kind of, and you are not getting the data, misusing that information in the different format, without that, if you're not doing those kind of things, then this particular web scraping is not an issue. So we are actually crawling SCP community over here, community blog post, and it is allowing me with the scraping, and the information what I am using it is very well clear, like how I am just grabbing what the data I'm grabbing and how I am just using it in my GitHub document. So if you are all good in those kind of usage of the data, then I think this is completely fine with the web scraping. Okay, let's move back to the coding part. Okay, so now we have got the response from this. Now let's convert it into the UTF format of the response content whatever I've received, because some information cannot be properly parsed, and it's better to have it in UTF-8 encoding fashion, whatever the content I have received, and get the another variable I'm getting the content into. Now we'll just grab that tree part from this content. We'll create a tree, LXML tree. Okay, and this tree will be using to apply the XPath selectors. So let's see how it works. Let's first collect the blog title, and if you want to know how did I use it, let's copy this one and let's open any SFT URL. Say this is one URL I'm just want to check, go to inspect, and if you just click on Control F, you will have something called CSS selector or XPath. I'll be placing this XPath, and you'll see this comes to this one, and this is the particular block title. So for that I'll just use text, and it will purely grab this particular text string, okay, which I need it. Similar way, I just want to grab those kind of information: author, blog post, date, category, and likes. Let's save this one, whatever we have built up so far. The pending things is basically left is the tagging part. Means if I just close that one, you will see something over here, not here, I think. Yeah, assign tags, this part. So if I right click on that, I will similar way will find a list, unordered list, and the list content containing that particular tag, and all the one by one different tags I am able to get it. But unfortunately the technique that we have just applied, which is an XPath selector, will not work over here. Okay, so for that will be there is a reason for that. Let's see why it is not why it will not work. So let's copy this one first. Sorry, what's happening? Right now, right click, go to view page source, and if you just Control F and paste it, you will see I have multiple occurrences of the same thing. Last one is here. You see, this is the one which is comes under the assign tags, and it is not coming under div or something. It is coming under a C data section with a script and script, right? And LXML doesn't crawl through that particular C data site. Okay, so that's why this getting tag is little bit of challenge with this technique, but we'll resolve that too as well. Okay, what we'll do is we'll use Beautiful Soup now. We'll write something like this. Whatever the response text we got it, get into using that document element, we'll create this one, and then we'll just loop through all the elements using the script as a search. Means if you just go to this one, you will see lots of scripts are there, right? Everything's script. So I'll just search the script element. What will happen, it will remove this piece and this piece, it will contain only this particular section. So that way I'll get only this information, okay, not this C data part or maybe the script part. It will automatically remove it, okay. So once I get that element, and interestingly this data will be available within that particular section where assign tag widget settings are there, okay. This data will not be available across any other place. So whatever the C data section we are just calling, data might be there in many places, okay, but this data for each section, this data will not be available because this C data will be anyway escaped or not, it will be ignored. While we'll doing this one script search, it will not be finder, we'll get only the inside the coding part, okay. So and we'll search with this data, and that way we'll grab this particular line. So let's do that now. So let's paste this one. What I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get enter code piece into an array, and every individual content of the array will be whatever comes under this quotation, okay. So this one, it will be coming under an array, like this res response will contain an array, and this array will have only this information because it's under a quotation. Similarly this information under a quotation, as well the data because it's also under quotation, 7 under quotation, and similar way this tag under quotation, okay. But it will not ignore, it will ignore rest of this all information because this is not a part of the quotation. So this way I'll just make an array, and then I'll select or rather validate whether this array contains this data or not. If it is contains an array data, if it's a successful if statement, then that means we are exactly on the correct section of the C data which contains my assigned tags, which is a primary tag, okay. Little bit of tricky things, but it's a fun. Let's try. Let's put now this one. If data is an array, then that particular index I'm just calculating, because whichever the index I'll get for that particular position inside that array, the next one would be the exact assigned tags, correct, which is what is my interest to get or pull into. So I'll just write simple logic like that. So the first, whatever the index I get, +1 will be my primary tag, and the second one is the primary tag URL. And if I get an exception, because if some index error happens, then I'll just set it to space, okay. And finally I'm creating a dictionary and passing those values, and I'm just setting those values rather, and I just break the loop, okay, for loop. Pretty simple. Let's save this one. Now this tag variable is telling not been used. Let's set it up globally, okay. So let's put it over here, the tag one. Just write something called global tag, okay. So that way it will be now active, okay. Cool. So my all information I have grabbed now, everything all I need. Only thing is now I have to concurrent it all and create a format like we have seen in our GitHub document. Means let's go to our GitHub document once again. So this is one of the things. So let's edit it, and you'll see something like we have to create within a parenthesis, the square bracket followed by this parenthesis which will contain the URL, then a pipe character, then the like values, then type of article, and so on. Okay, and the last one should be same way, the tags followed by the URL. Okay, within a parenthesis. That's how we create to make it a table like fashion. So let's make sure we are on the right indent and paste this one where I'm just telling this blog info will be kind of a string formatting I'm doing, and all things you probably can now able to understand what I'm doing over here. And finally I'm just printing it out. Okay, cool. Let's also add this blog info as the global one, just to be sure it doesn't create an issue. Put blog info. Okay, because this way we set it global variables in Python. Okay, I think this particular Python application is complete. Can we test it independently? How to do that? Make sure you are on the virtual environment and now run Python and then URL crawler.py followed by one system variable. So that means let's copy another blog post URL, put it over here and click on close the quotation. If I run, what will happen? Awesome. You see, now I have got all the contents perfectly. That is what I needed, and it's basically printed. Means I'll use that output into a memory in the buffer, and that buffer information I will collect inside this data. Okay, I'll collect inside this standard output on as a data. So data should be buffer, and to use that buffer actually we have to convert into a string fashion, and this clean string we created to avoid any sort of unknown characters which may be an incorrect UTF-8 character that we need to discard, and we need a clean string which we just now will pass to the main function which we have just built up all together to update into the GitHub the repository. I think all set. Anything pending? I'm not sure. So let's test this application together and see what happens. So to run this one, what I'll do is let's do something. What is going on? Yeah, we have something called package.json. Let's change it to start script, and I'll just add called a very difficult when I think lots of codes I have written. I'm not sure if it'll break somewhere, but we'll fix it up. Let's see how it works, and if it doesn't work we have to fix it. That's fine. So I'm just giving a start script node index.js. Make sure you're in virtual environment and run npm start. One thing we have missed out before I run. That's it. We are not having a listener. See, we don't have any listener on the port. So let's put app dot listen port. That's log.console. Let's do listening port. Okay, so where is my main function? Let's just close it. This is a post, right? This is the function called get file name. This is for clean string. This is for my months. Rest are all something like this. Okay, cool. So let's run and hope everything will work fine. Clear, and just run npm start. Let's see what happens. Wow, first problem. Let's see what's the problem. Missing argument after list. Oh, sorry, the last one is the problem. Let's close it and save, and let's run one more time. npm start. Voila, it's listening on port 3000. Let's go to port 3000 now. Let's do something like local host 3000. Yeah, it is giving an cannot get, which is perfectly fine because our endpoint is different. Endpoint is not the main root but the blog post. But when we are calling this blog post, right, we need to pass on that URL. Okay, so that's the reason we'll test it from the postman. Okay, so let's test in the with the postman. So this is the local host 3000 port and the blog post as my endpoint. In the header I have mentioned as application JSON, and the body raw I have just added URL. I think little bit. Can I just make it? Yeah. So URL, I've just grabbed one of the URL which I'm interested. Okay. So if I now run this one, because my application is already running in port 3000, I'm not sure what problem I'll encounter. Let's see. Something wrong, and it says create new file is not a function. Okay, that's some strange. Why create new file.js async function, and oh, we did really a bad thing. We had to put this create new file to export it from the module, which is really bad. Now I have to stop it, this one, and let's rerun and go back to postman and retry. Okay, let's go to body part. Successful 200 and file creation status successful. Excellent. Okay, at least our all effort pays off finally. So let's go to the repository now to see what's happening there. Loggybot1, and you see this file got created dynamically with the name and all, which you can recall, I guess. If you get into that, awesome. You see, oh, something wrong. We have put something incorrectly with the fashion. Let's quickly fix it up. What happened actually? Let's get into that first. Okay, I got the problem. Problem is this pipe character. Okay, so that basically telling it's a new cell to be created after this cloud, and it's actually overwrite all the values. Okay, and that means we have to just write a small function in our Python application only to ensure, like, if I get something a pipe character in our title, right, it has to be ignored, and rather we'll be we need to handle this block title a little bit differently now. So this small line or small piece of code will solve the problem. We'll say, like, if I find this thing in the block title, replace with a dash. Let's save it, and once more we have to run the application. We could have changed with a node 1, but that's fine. Let's run npm start, and let's delete this file. Okay, so that we freshly can generate it once again. Delete this content, commit the changes. So the file got deleted now. So if I just run The application is already running in 3000 now. If I retry with this same Postman content or the payload value, let's see what happens. Yeah, file creation is status is successful. And now if I go back and just refresh this repository, and everything looks well, right? So getting started, likes, article type, posted on, author, status, fantastic. If you go to the tags now, it will take me to that particular page. Brilliant. So job is done, but let's do one more thing. With this one, again we'll try to create it. So this time it will say the file does exist, so it will try to update it, and let's see what it happens. Yeah, you see the file update status. Now blog post already updated because the blogs are there, so it is not re-updating the file. What will happen if I just put something scrappy, okay, and if I just try it, what will happen this time? Let's see. Yeah, error occurred, please recheck SAP blog post URL. Fantastic. So all different validations working pretty well. Cool. What next? Next journey would be now to deploy this code to SAP BTP, and we'll be using Docker this time. But I would like to stop the recording now because it is quite a lengthy of video, I believe. So let's break the discussion or overall project into at least 2 videos or 2 parts. So this is the part 1 is finished, and soon I'll update the part 2. So keep an eye on my channel, and you will get notification if you have set the bell icon active. Now the interesting part will be done, and that is the handling those codes now to be moved into SAP BTP using the Docker. So we'll be creating Docker hubs, local container creation, image build-up, etc. And finally, 2 more things are pending, and that is the SAP chatbot we have to create, and you have to integrate this Node.js application, which will be deployed to BTP. So that integration has to be done with the chatbot. That will do. And finally, we'll create the Telegram bot, and we'll integrate this Telegram bot with SAP chatbot, and then enter testing will do from the Telegram bot only. So this just a simple use case I have just considered, and the concept and the technology and the techniques definitely you can use in any other production requirement, or maybe other conceptual design that you are looking at. Interesting thing is like how the technologies are integrated with each other and how they are communicating, and what are the things that we need to do to make it work. I hope you enjoyed part 1 rather, and soon we'll see in the part 2. Thanks for watching, and subscribe my channel for getting this kind of videos in future more and more. Goodbye.